Greetings, maniacs, New Englanders, and everyone else. I can't believe that it is already late October and election season is right around the corner. Well, actually, we are in election season now, but the election date, November 7th, is right around the corner. It's hard to believe. I wanted to take some time off from filming videos. I know that I'm not going to be able to maintain a constant speed of several videos a week. I can maybe do 3, but right now I've been doing like 7, maybe 8. There's just so much to cover, and with such an important date of November 7th right around the corner, I thought that now was not the time to go slow. I am still working full-time, but this is what I end up thinking about while I'm at work, so I can't not do something. I have a hard time coming home and just relaxing while I was at work and deep in thought, I just kept thinking about Maine and Maine voters and how we've been used as pawns, and they are using lots and lots of money to make us believe certain things that I'm finding out just aren't true in a lot of cases. So I want to cover each question in depth, and we're going to start with question 1. Actually, technically I started with question 2. I filmed that one first, and then I decided that I needed to just bite the bullet and record question 1. The reason I was hesitant is because question 1 is combined with question 3. So no matter what I do, I realistically can't get around question 1 and 3 because they are so early on. They are also some of the most divisive and some of the most confusing and some of the most money spent in advertisements making Mainers believe one thing or another. So let's get into that. First off, question 1 states, do you want to bar some quasi-governmental entities and all consumer-owned electric utilities from taking on more than $1 billion in debt unless they get statewide voter approval? We're going to start first with Ballotpedia. I think it's just a really straightforward way to get a lot of information, and it seems to be just straight information, not biased in any discernible way. Of course, it's almost impossible to be unbiased at all, but it does seem to be very much factual and not emotionally charged. Main question 1. The voter approval of borrowing above $1 billion by state entities and electric cooperatives initiative is on the ballot in Maine as an indirect initiated state statute on November 7th, 2023. Just looking up something. I was just interested in what indirect initiated state statute meant. I'm going to have to get back to that. And then I'll let you guys know. You probably already know though. A yes vote supports requiring voter approval for certain state entities, municipal electric districts, electrification cooperatives, or consumer-owned transmission utilities to incur a total outstanding debt that exceeds $1 billion. A no vote opposes requiring voter approval from certain state entities, municipal electric districts, electrification cooperatives, or consumer-owned transmission utilities to incur a total outstanding debt that exceeds $1 billion. So an overview. Again, this is from Ballotpedia. What would this ballot measure to? This ballot measure would require voter approval for certain state entities, municipal electric districts, electrification cooperatives, or consumer-owned transmission utilities to incur a total outstanding debt that exceeds $1 billion and require a statement by the state treasurer to accompany the ballot question regarding the estimated cost of the increased debt. What does this measure have to do with Pine Tree Power Company initiative? Question 3, another initiative for November 7th, Maine ballot. would create the Pine Tree Power Company, a municipal consumer-owned electric transmission and distribution utility. This measure would replace CMP and Versant, two investor-owned utilities that service the majority of Maine residents. The No Blank Checks campaign said of the Pine Tree Power Campaign initiative, a proposal is being circulated that would authorize seizing the state's electric utilities, creating billions of dollars in debt we would all have to pay off through our electric bills. The people pushing this proposal can't say exactly how much it would cost, and they are asking us to write a blank check. Voters should know the price tag and get a chance to vote on that debt first. Previously, the Pine Tree Power Company proposal was introduced to the Maine House of Representatives by State Rep. Seth Berry on May 13, 2021. The proposal, LD 1708, was approved by both chambers of the Maine State Legislature on June 30, 2021, but was vetoed by Governor Janet Mills on July 31, 2021. Governor Mills said in a press conference LD 1708 was hastily drafted and hastily amended several times. In recent weeks, without robust public participation, seems to be a patchwork of political promises rather than a methodical reformation of Maine's complicated electricity transmission and distribution systems. Pine Tree Power estimated that acquiring CMP and Versant would cost an estimate of $5 billion, while the No Blank Checks campaign projected the cost would be $13.5 billion. Who are the campaigns surrounding this ballot measure? No Blank Checks and Maine Affordable Energy are both leading the campaign in support of the initiative. The Maine Affordable Energy Coalition also opposes the creation of Pine Tree Power Company initiative, an initiative which would create the Pine Tree Power Company. As of the latest campaign finances, reports covering through September 30th, November 2023, No Blank Checks and Maine Affordable Energy collectively reported $23 million in contributions and $21.6 million in expenditure. So again, that's from Ballotpedia, and I think that was it was a great overview and kind of gives you the feel for what's going on. I found a podcast. It's on mainepublic.org. It's about ballot questions 3 and 1 by Jennifer Rooks and Jonathan P. Smith. It was published on October 16th, and it is a 50-minute listen. It's the debate over Pine Tree Power. We'll discuss question 3 and question 1 that are on the November ballot. Question 3 asks voters if they want to create a new consumer-owned power company that would acquire and operate the existing for-profit electricity transmission and distribution facilities in Maine. Question 1 asks if voters want to bar some quasi-governmental entities and all consumer-owned electric utilities from taking on more than $1 billion in debt unless they get statewide voter approval. The panelists include Al Cleveland, campaign manager of Pine Tree Power, Willie Rich, executive director of Maine Affordable Energy Coalition, Steve Missler, chief political correspondent, Maine Public, and Kevin Miller, state house correspondent, Maine Public. I have not had a chance to listen to that yet. I'm going to do that at work tonight. So I'm going to skip over recording question 3 for now. It's not going to make a difference for you, but just know that it won't follow directly. I did 2, 1, I'll probably do 4, eventually come back to 3. Again, it's not going to matter to you guys, I just a little behind the scenes. So I have another article here. Well, first I'm just going to read, just to get more of a feel of what's going on from different perspectives, who thinks what, who's saying what. This is from Gorham Times. Maine's 2023 statewide referendum questions. What's on the ballot? With the November 7th referendum election just around the corner, Maine voters have an opportunity to weigh in on 8 issues that will affect our state's future. I would like to take this opportunity to outline the questions we will be voting on this fall. The first 4 are citizen initiative questions. Citizen initiatives have been enshrined in the Maine Constitution since the early 1900s and have since been used to pass measures like expanding eligibility for health coverage for low-income people through Medicare, increasing the minimum wage, and more. Any registered Maine voter can apply to submit a citizen's initiative by drafting the proposed legislation and collecting the required number of verified signatures. The Secretary of State, SOS, office is responsible for verifying signatures and certifying the proposal before it can appear on the next statewide ballot. Here is what's on the ballot. This year, one question in particular has generated significant attention and debate. Question 3 will ask if Mainers want to replace the state's investor-owned utility companies, Central Maine Power and Versant, with a consumer-owned Pine Tree Power Company. Question 1 also relates to this topic. It will ask voters if they want to bar some quasi-governmental entities in all consumer-owned electric utilities from taking on more than $1 billion in debt unless they get statewide voter approval. These referendum items cover a wide range of issues. Engaging in an informed decision-making process is crucial, and the official website of Maine's Secretary of State, found here, is an invaluable resource for assessing detailed information, statements, and relevant reports on each question. By taking the time to learn more about these referendum questions, voters have an opportunity to help shape the future of our state. For information about how and where to vote, please visit the Gorham Town's Clerk election and voting website or call the office. And I like that ending. By taking the time to learn more about these referendum questions, voters have an opportunity to help shape the future of our state. They do go into all 8 questions, but 1 and 3 were the only ones relevant here, so I figured I would read that. And now on to Spectrum News. Maine ballot question 1 and 3 focus on state's electric utilities by Susan Cover, published October 16th. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat, I guess. Let me drink some milk. I guess maybe the milk is causing the problem. And yes, I drink milk. I just had some Maine blueberry cobbler and milk was perfect. But now I'm wondering if that's why I'm having to clear my throat so much. We'll find out. Hopefully that helps for now at least. So once again, Spectrum News. Voters on November 7th will be asked to decide 2 questions related to the state's electric utilities. Question 1 requires voter approval for all consumer-owned electric utilities and some governmental entities to borrow more than $1 billion. Question 3 asks whether voters want to buy out Central Maine Power and Versant Power and replace them with a non-profit governed by an elected board. The questions are 2 of 8 that will appear on the ballot. Question 3 is lining up to be an expensive campaign, with CMP and Versant spending more than $34 million to try and defeat the effort to create Pine Tree Power, according to state campaign finance reports. I mean, that's just pretty telling. Like $34 million in the state of Maine, that's a lot of money to spend trying to persuade people into a certain way of thinking. And from a way that I think, no amount of money actually really helps when you get to know a deep roots Mainer. Like, well, I guess it can influence, it can, especially nowadays, but there's a certain essence where this is just schemy and gross. But I'll continue reading. But supporters of the idea, who have raised about $1 million, say Mainers should give serious consideration to changing who controls the electricity in Maine. Investor-owned utilities have brought us high bills, unaffordable power, and the worst customer service in the nation, said Al Cleveland, a campaign manager for Our Power, the group leading the effort in support of question 3. Opponents say there are too many questions about the overall cost, how the nonprofit will be governed, and the potential for lengthy litigation. There's not a single thing in the Pine Tree Power proposal that guarantees an improvement in reliability, said Willie Rich of Maine Affordable Energy Coalition. The concern is about the risks and the unknowns. The coalition is leading ballot question committee that opposes question 3 and is largely funded by CMP parent company Avangrid, which has donated $21.3 million through September 30th. Again, large sums of money. And we have homeless children. Homeless children in the state. CMP, Versant, go take care of those kids, you'll win my vote. But instead you're spending it on ads targeting our Mainers to get our minds and perspectives, our worldviews to be shifted. I mean, what else can you say when you're spending that amount of money? It looks pretty obvious what you're attempting to do. Avangrid is a subsidiary of this Spanish company, Iberdrola, which I kept pronouncing wrong in the other videos, so I apologize. It's Iberdrola, Spanish-based company. Versant parent company, NMAX, which is based in Canada, Calgary, Canada, has donated $13.4 million in opposition. So I guess maybe those combined amounts are where the overall $34 million comes from. They're just breaking it down now. That is, or maybe it's additional. I hope it's not additional. It's gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be the total. That is still alarming, and it just doesn't feel right to me. Because of a random chance ballot order, voters will be asked to decide the borrowing question before the Pine Tree Power initiatives. But it's easiest to understand the issues by considering question 3 first. Okay, that does make sense. I was wondering, like, okay, why question 1 and then question 3? But that does make sense that it's random chance, that no one controls who sees what in which order. So I like that. Question 3 ended up on the ballot following Governor Janet Mills' veto of a similar bill in 2021. In response, a group called Our Power circulated citizen petitions to get the question before voters. Mills recently came out in opposition to the ballot question. Because question 3 is a hostile takeover of our utilities with eminent domain, we are guaranteed to go to court and be tied up in litigation for years, if not decades, she said. That leaves our utilities in a dangerous state of limbo when we can least afford it. Yet the Natural Resource Council of Maine, the state's largest environmental organization, came out in support of question 3, saying it would restore local control, save money, and build a better business model. Capturing the opponents of the clean energy transition hinges on having renewable energy like wind and solar delivered through a reliable, flexible, and affordable electric grid to every Maine resident and business. Rebecca Schultz, NRCM senior advocate, wrote in announcing the endorsement. One big question hinging over the debate is how much it would cost for a nonprofit to acquire CMP and Versant. The companies say it would cost $13.5 billion, but supporters of Pine Tree Power say the companies are likely inflating their values. As Cleveland said during a recent forum on the ballot question in Augusta, there's no way of knowing right now what the cost will be and what it would likely be decided by a third party. Cleveland says the takeover would save Maine consumers $9 billion over 30 years once the for-profit companies are replaced by a nonprofit. That's because the nonprofit won't need to pay shareholders and because it will be able to borrow money at lower rates, estimated to be a 2 to 5% increase because it will be publicly owned utility. Across the state, public utilities in Kennebunk, Holton, and Madison have offered rates 50% lower than what's paid by CMP and Versant customers, Cleveland said. 50%! If voters approve question 3, the nonprofit would be governed by a group of 7 elected board members who would then choose 6 experts to fill other board positions. By law, the nonprofit cannot use general obligation bonds or state tax dollars. It will issue debt against future revenues to purchase the facilities of CMP and Versant. Opponents say the nonprofit will have to contract with the company to actually run the system, adding another layer of uncertainty to the process. The utilities would still have to be operated by a for-profit company, Rich said. Cleveland said while that may be the case, the board will solicit bids from operators, creating competition in the marketplace that doesn't currently exist. Moving to question 1, CMP and Versant launched their own petition effort in response to the Pine Tree Power initiative that would require a second vote on the cost if question 3 passes. If question 1 fails and question 3 passes, the utility takeover will begin without delay. But if they both pass, the takeover would likely be delayed until another statewide vote can take place, according to Maine Office of the Public Advocate. Supporters of question 1 pitched the idea as a safeguard against the potentially expensive proposition. We just said, fine, if you're going to ask voters to take on a multi-billion debt, you should make sure you know how much it is, Rich said. Cleveland testified in support of question 1 before lawmakers earlier this year, describing it as an attempt to stop Pine Tree Power by bringing fear to voters. We know that Maine voters are smarter than this and deserve to have all of the information about their utilities, Cleveland said. We support any efforts to provide more transparency and education to Mainers. Okay, I like how that ended also. Al Cleveland saying, we know that Maine voters are smarter than this and deserve to have all of the information about their utilities. We support any effort to provide more transparency and education to Mainers. Taken at face value, I do like that. I would like transparency. I would like to know how it works, because right now, watching the prices skyrocket each and every bill, it's not sustainable. And my fiance and I both are full-time young men working, and so it's not as hard for us as it is for other people, but it's still untenable. And I want to be able to retire in the future. I want to be able to live a life that I've built for myself without fear that it's going to be taken away because of rising electric bills, rising utility bills, rising food, rising medication. I mean, we have 75-year-olds that are having to choose between keeping the electricity on, medication, food. They're having to juggle all of this, and the families of those people, if they have them, they aren't able to help because no one can really help each other right now. We are all suffering. And Janet Mills had the chance to veto some of this stuff, or had the chance to pass some of this stuff through, and instead vetoed it, saying all these risks and all these unknowns. But to me, Janet Mills is the risk and the unknown, because you do know how she's going to vote. She will vote in favor of money and power. And she won't vote in favor of Mainers. And I say that with a heavy heart because I want a governor that does those things. But she's sold the Maine people, and she's selling us to the highest bidder. And so I really wish people would go out and vote this November. And I know there's a lot of information and it's really hard to stay on top of it all, but that's why I'm trying to bring this to you. Go ahead and share this video out with other coworkers, with other friends and families, neighbors, just people that are interested but don't know where to get the information. And so that's where I want to come in. So before I end, I have a letter to the editor. Beware November's question 1 on Maine ballot. This is from the Press Herald, and it is written by Clifford Krolik, Parsonsfield, I guess Maine. I don't know if that is a town. I think it is. Yikes. This fall's election will challenge us with the many referendum questions. Some quite confusing. Some clarification ahead might be helpful, especially regarding question 1. No blank checks, and question 3 regarding Pine Tree Power. Question 3 asks if Maine citizens want to replace Central Maine Power and Versant Power with our own non-profit Maine-based utility. Question 1, which requires a special vote for certain public expenditures, was concocted by CMP's parent company, Avangrid, in order to sabotage Pine Tree Power. CMP and Versant are fighting tooth and nail against Maine ratepayers who dare to challenge the corporate monopolies. Clearly, this is a David versus Goliath battle. Well funded by the parent corporation, CMP's campaign groups aim, with question 1, to quash efforts by Maine people to have control over our electricity rates and prevent us from building a stronger, climate-resistant grid. Of economic significance, Pine Tree Power will borrow at significantly lower rates than those for-profit companies. Keep in mind, we cannot have it both ways. A yes vote on question 1 will cancel our yes vote on 3. Once again, Clifford Krolik. So that's just some information on question 1. It was hard to get separate information question 1 from question 3 because they are so intertwined. I'm going to cover question 3. I do want to listen to the Maine Public Ballot Questions 3 and 1 by Jennifer Rooks and Jonathan P. Smith. I'm going to listen to that tonight while I'm at work, and I will record question 3 probably tomorrow before I go to bed. So this is just some more information, some clarification, and some deep diving into question 1. I'm going to go through each question individually, so wait for those. I'm probably going to do some kind of every 6 or 12 hours just release a video, just because I think it's so important to have this information out there. I don't care about the algorithm when it comes to how Maine's votes go. Although working with the algorithm, I may be able to reach more people before May 7th, but it's a risk and an unknown that I'm willing to try and take. So go ahead and hit the like button, leave some comments down below. I hope I've earned your subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.